Nobody believed her. That was the part that hurt the most, not the dry, cracked earth, not the blazing sun that pressed down on her back like a punishment, not even the blisters that split open across her palms every evening. What hurt most was the laughter. It drifted across the barren hillside like a taunt, casual and careless, from the men who sat outside the tea shop every morning watching her dig. "There she goes again," one of them would say, loud enough for her to hear. "The crazy tree woman." And they would laugh. And she would keep digging. Her name was Mina. She was 31 years old, a widow with 2 daughters, living in a small village in a region where the land had been dying slowly for decades. The river that once ran behind the village had shrunk to a trickle. The wells were dropping. Summers were longer. The farmers were leaving. And Mina, who had nothing left to lose after the illness took her husband 3 years prior, had decided to do something that everyone else considered foolish. She decided to plant trees. It started simply enough. A government pamphlet had arrived in the village about reforestation and how native trees could restore groundwater. Most people used the pamphlet as kindling. Mina read it 4 times. She saved every rupee she could, sold her spare sari, borrowed small amounts from her mother, and bought her first batch of saplings, 22 of them, and carried them up the hill in a plastic basket on her head. She planted them one by one with a rusted spade, watering each one with water she hauled from half a kilometer away. By the end of the first month, 7 had died. She replanted them. By the end of the second month, 5 more had wilted. She replanted those too. Her daughters, 10 and 7 years old, watched her with wide and uncertain eyes. The older one, Priya, once asked her, "Mama, why do you keep going back when they keep dying?" Mina wiped the soil from her hands and looked at her daughter for a long moment. "Because giving up is also a choice," she said quietly. "And I choose not to?" The village did not soften. If anything, the mockery grew more layered. Someone spread a rumor that she had lost her mind with grief. A distant relative suggested she be taken to a city doctor. The local council, when she approached them for a small piece of unused government land on the hill, laughed her out of the meeting. She applied again in writing. They denied her again. She found a retired schoolteacher named Rajan who believed in her and helped her file a formal petition. 14 months after her first application, she was granted temporary access to 2 acres of degraded hillside land. She went back to planting. She learned which species were drought-resistant. She composted kitchen waste to enrich the soil. Priya, now 12, began helping on weekends, and soon the younger daughter too. They became a small, quiet army of 3, working before school and after dinner, hauling water, building small earthen ridges to catch rainwater. Mina kept a notebook. Every tree had a number, a date, a species. By the end of year 2, she had planted over 180 trees. By year 3, nearly 300. By the middle of year 4, the number reached 340. And then something happened. The rains came differently that year. Heavier, more generous. And because the hillside now had roots holding the soil, the water didn't rush away. It seeped in. A farmer noticed that his well, which had been nearly dry for 2 seasons, had risen by several feet. Then another noticed the same. A researcher from an agricultural university came to the village, having heard about an unusual reforestation effort. She walked the hillside with Mina for 3 hours, and when she came back down, she said nothing immediately. She just sat quietly for a moment, then pulled out her notebook and began writing. The report that followed was published in a national journal. It described how one woman, working largely alone, had reversed the early stages of desertification on a degraded hillside using traditional ecological knowledge and native species. It cited measurable improvements in soil moisture, local groundwater recharge, and microclimate temperature. It named Mina by name 7 times. The state government invited her to speak. She went in her plain cotton sari, Priya standing beside her, and she spoke simply and without drama about soil and water and patience. The hall was full of officials and experts, and when she finished, they applauded for a long time. She was offered funding to expand the project to 5 more villages. She accepted the tea shop men were still there when she came back home. The village looked the same, mostly, but the hill behind it was green now, softly and unmistakably green. And on evenings, when the wind moved through it, you could hear the leaves. Mina would stand at her door and listen. Her daughters would stand beside her. The older one would sometimes ask what she was thinking, and Mina would smile the quiet smile of a woman who had carried a belief that everyone else dropped, and say, "I'm just listening to the trees."